The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
I'm looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday evening news. Tuesday evening Oh shit, that's me. My lines are up. I'm trying to get my last hit in before the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Psychedelic Reporters. This Tuesday, the 19th of May, here on NLK Network, the video news podcast focused on psychedelic medicine being reported in the mainstream media. So shout out to the guys from Dead Ringer, from Kirkland Lake, Ontario, and the awesome intro track, originally recorded by the Moody Blues, with some customized changes for our show. So, you gotta listen to it. It's not really their song. I am joined by my amazing joint host, Tara Simpson, along with the one and only Bufo Alvarius, who has chosen all of our stories for us. Wait, no, this is Ron McNabb subbing in for Tara Simpson. And so hello, hello, Ron.
Hey, hello, hobbies. Hello, everyone. I'd like to introduce Bufo to you right here. And he is the Sonoran Desert Toad, or also known as the Colorado Mud Toad. And did you know that he emits DMT from his skin? And as we've reported in the past, park rangers would like to remind everyone, don't lick the toad. So no licking toads, folks. Don't lick the toad.
Don't lick the toad. Bufos is a Sonarian desert toad. I think he's like brown and green, but in this picture he's like green.
Yeah, he's green there, but I think in real life, I think Bufo is you're right, like a brownish color.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, because if you're walking through the Sonorian desert and you come across a frog and you're like, oh, here's a frog. Oh, wait, I can't lick this one because I don't want to fuck up the ecosystem. That's a DMT frog. And then pick up a brown frog and go instead of the green frog you were looking at. And then you accidentally picked up the right frog then. And now you're fucking up the ecosystem again.
Right. So it's just safer. Just don't lick anything. Don't lick any toads.
No. Go to the store and get an ice cream on the way away from the Sonarian desert. So our first news, and this is interesting that Bufo chose this because mainstream media is Yahoo Life. You know, how many people look at Yahoo for news? All right, so 1 million of people are reading this right now and putting it into their ideas. And yahoo.com, lifestyle, men's health, the new kind of counselor, shaping how mental health is treated. And this is written by Andrew Bernstein.
Yeah. During my first ketamine journey, I found myself in a void, curious to follow an overhead boulevard of pink green, blue, and orange neon light, but the sound of water dribbling into a bowl was drowning out the ethereal music in my ears and prevented me from going. With great effort, I reached out to the person world and croaked, "Please stop the water." I heard my therapist's voice said, I immediately heard my therapist's voice with an embodied clarity that did not exist in my present. "Oh, I'm sorry." The water sounds stopped. Music washed into my ears, and I flew along the neons. The rest of that journey helped me process and understand the compounding traumas of losing my mother to ALS in 2017 and a grave injury that left me paralyzed 2 years later. The water sounds in my therapist's office might be helpful to some clients, but the fact that I found them distracting and my therapist's quick reaction show the value of working with a properly trained counselor when using psychedelics to resolve psychological pain. It's true that psychedelics have helped people like me who live with deeply internalized traumas of all kinds. Research has shown that these medicines can help people overcome PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, addiction, and other serious mental health issues. Ketamine, a well-studied and generally safe medicine, has become a fairly common therapeutic psychedelic. And as states legalize psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, more practitioners have obtained training to help clients use that treatment. Other psychedelics are also in use, with legality varying. I'll finish this last bit in this section. While the research and support around psychedelic-assisted therapy builds, counselors are meeting the needs of clients in a whole new way.
Oh, yeah. So what? Okay, what are psychedelic-assisted therapy counselors? Unlike so-called trip sitters who typically don't have specific training, but agree to protect someone's physical safety while they're on a dissociative journey, practitioners of psychedelic assisted therapy are formally qualified. PAT counselors usually hold a degree in counseling, typically a master's in counseling, doctorate of psychology, or master's of social work, have an active license in their state, and have received specific training from a psychedelic focused training institute like Prati, the Mind Foundation, and California Institute of Integral Studies. In some states, counselors also hold separate certification in psychedelic facilitation. So if you're looking to reap the benefits of psychedelic assisted therapy, you should look for a counselor who practices PAT, not just a journey with a trip sitter. Because what is the role of a psychedelic assisted therapy? What? PAT counselors prepare. Oh, a psychedelic assisted therapist. Oh, that's what you. All right, so now we're calling them psychedelic assisted therapists, more trained than the trip sitters. Okay, my mind's catching on. And just as importantly, work with clients to integrate the insights from that journey in the days following. The first steps is to ensure that a client will even benefit from a dissociative journey, says Gina Garazza, a licensed marriage and family therapist based in Portland, who facilitates journeys with ketamine, MDMA, and psilocybin. If the therapist believes the treatment may work, then the PAT counselor helps the client prepare. Would that also be if the client feels the therapy would work? Like it's not going to work if the person don't think it's going to work.
Exactly, right? You have to have that feeling of that, hey, I'm going into this hoping that this is going to work. If you go into it saying, hey, I don't think this is going to work, well, that kind of a mindset doesn't usually work.
Right. You can continue if you want.
Okay. There's a quote here: "Psychedelics can serve as revealers rather than the ultimate healers," Grazza says. It shows you what needs to be worked on in your waking life, and from there, the integration work begins. Creating a trusting relationship with clients is also important. If any part of the process feels uncertain or unsafe to the client, they're more likely to feel challenges during their journey, she says. And that's kind of just basically what we were saying right there. External factors are key too, says Betty Warden, a licensed clinical social worker who practices psychedelic facilitation in Bend, Oregon. It's important to create an environment for people, especially if you're in a city and there are sirens going by, traffic, or other potential distractions, Warden says. We're not doing this ceremoniously out in the jungle, and we have to help manage for that. And I think that's very important because you have a lot of these psychedelic retreats that are out in the country, and they're out in the country for a reason because there's less distractions. You have more to be one with nature rather than distractions of the city in that. So, yeah, if you're going to go see a psychedelic assisted therapist that's in a city, before you go in and go for a session, I would suggest to check out what that type of surroundings is like.
Yeah.
You were you going to add something there, Todd?
Yeah, so well, see now therapeutically, let's say a siren triggers a guy and they're tripping. In a way, in some therapy, shock therapy is helpful at a low dosage.
Yes.
So if you're dosing and you hear that siren and your therapist is working you through those emotions, it could be beneficial as well.
Yes, and they did actually mention that about having that dissociative uh, uh, thing, even if it's a negative, to use that to work through. We did read that up in the story. So yeah, a good therapist will recognize that, and it's a good any therapist. If you got to have the individual and the therapist be able to work together and have it click well together, right? So, anyways, I'll carry on here. I digress. Warden tells her clients that she will remain in the physical environment, and if the client has any issues on their journey, they can communicate that issue to her. I'm not going to allow them to bang their head on the floor, but they can scream and yell or writhe in pain if that's what they need. When done right, says Warden, a psychedelic journey looks a lot like helping someone to move something that has felt immovable. Sometimes it can be a game of charades to try and figure out what someone needs, Warden says. I once had a client who, unbeknownst to me, had 3 layers on and was under a heavy blanket. He was clearly uncomfortable and started to fan himself with his hands before I realized he was burning up. She and the client laughed later, but Warden now encourages light clothes and uses blankets to regulate temperature. Warden says that facilitating psychedelic journeys can be intense, especially when a client is re-experiencing a trauma. Helping clients through the hardest moments can be even physical. PAT techniques can include pushing on someone's feet to stimulate literal ground or holding their hand to be physically with them in a traumatic experience.
Yeah, so Zappy Zappelin, who calls himself a psychedelic concierge, has worked with notable clients, including the retired LA Laker Lamar Odom and actor Michelle Rodriguez. Zappelin helps clients prepare for scary moments. Psychedelic facilitators are allergic to the phrase bad trip, even because bad, scary, or intense experiences have a great benefit. The preferred term is challenging journey. By reminding them to, no matter what they may see or experience, it will end, and that they are safe in a safe place. Grazia says that helping someone experiencing something scary while on a journey may involve saying words or phrases that affirm they are safe, not alone. They may feel soothed by having pictures of loved ones, meaningful objects, or special cozy items like a blanket or stuffed animal, she says. Wow.
Right. And what's next for psychedelic assisted therapists? Despite all the well documented benefits of psychedelics, the medicine's use in therapy is up against a culture stigma. Warden says the average person is probably more likely to associate psychedelics with Harry Gold, getting lost in Joshua Tree, or Erlich Bachman smearing shit on a bathroom wall than with Ted Lasso going on the journey that saved AFC Richmond's season. My desire as a facilitator has been to tell a different kind of story, so we think of psychedelics in a mainstream way, says Warden. I want to reduce the stigma and help people understand what it means to use psilocybin for healing. If you're interested in trying PAT, you can search the Psychology Today database using filters for your area and the kinds of therapy you want to receive. Psychable, and there's clickable links for these as well. Psychable maintains a listings of PAT counselors, including psilocybin facilitators in states where it is legal. So I imagine that those are for the US only, not Canada. Practitioners of psychedelic assisted therapy will typically be trained to work with particular medicines. Grazia has trained with both ketamine, Grazia has training rather with both ketamine and MDMA. Warden has training in the administration of ketamine. Both are licensed psilocybin facilitators in Oregon. Zappelin is one of the many psychedelic facilitators who rely on earned experience instead of formal training and has created his own certification program. Oh, that's kind of neat. Just know that your personal drive matters too when it comes to getting the results that you're looking for from psychedelics. This is mental work, says Zappelin. Medicine helps, but changing your lifestyle, making mental shifts, living in the real world with an expanded consciousness is up to the individual. You need to learn how to apply the lessons you learned and keep them by name when the world is happening and your family is throwing things at you. And that's so true. That is so true, because true integration, that's what happens, is being able to go back into those environments that were once triggering and being able to work through it in the instant.
Right. So impressive.
Yeah.
That
was cool.
So it makes you think about it. All right. It makes you think. It's not just out there and tripping. I've gone in places where we've been out in public on a microdose or a gram or whatnot, and people have felt anxiety and whatnot. Well, we were separated from each other. And I thought about it. I'm like, I wouldn't know if I would be a good trip there, because when I'm on my high or when I'm doing my thing, I go and do my thing, And so even if I'm in a group, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my solo mission, my quest, my side quest, and
Exactly.
and they suggest that you don't, if you're a sitter, you're not indulging yourself, because now you're like the designated driver of the space cadet shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my thing again, if I have now a sober person being my space cadet driver, I'm going to feel myself uncomfortable because I'm a solo mission guy. And even in a group, I break away so I can have my own zen. And so it's like I would break away from get away, stop following me.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
So our next thing is psyplus.org. New study explores the link between mystical psychedelic trips and a reduced fear of dying. And this is by Bianca Setianago. It's really small, and I think I did that well. But you want to start us off, Rod?
Yeah, sure. A new study published in the Journal of Psychedelic Studies, and there's a clicky link there, has found that people who have had a meaningful psychedelic experience report a significantly reduced fear of death alongside heightened feelings of connection to themselves, others, and the world around them. Furthermore, the degree of connection closely tracks the degree of relief from death related fear. Researchers have long argued that anxiety about dying sits at the root of a surprisingly wide range of psychological struggles, from depression to broader existential distress. Studies have observed that psychedelic experiences, first noted in terminally ill patients in the mid 20th century and later confirmed in modern controlled research, can drastically reduce this fear through the mechanisms behind why this happens though the mechanisms behind why this happens remain unclear. One leading explanation is increased connectedness, a heightened sense of relationship to oneself, others, and the wider world. Because psychedelics reliably enhance these feelings, researchers sought to investigate whether greater connectedness might be one of the specific pathways through which psychedelics that reduce the fear of death. Led by Noah N. Barr at the University of Wollongong in Australia, the team recruited 106 adults, 59 male, 44 female, 2 non-binary, and average age 31 years, who had undergone a personally meaningful psychedelic experience using a classical substance. Psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, was the most common, though LSD, ayahuasca, DMT, and mescaline were also represented. Interesting.
So using an anonymous online survey, participants reflected retrospectively on the 3 months before and 3 months after the experience. They completed validated questionnaire measuring their fear of death, their tendency to avoid thinking about death, their sense of connectedness to themselves, to others, and to the wider world universe, and the intensity of any mystical type experiences during the physical or during their psychedelic session. Their results were consistent. Participants reported a significantly lower fear of death and significantly less death avoidance after the psychedelic experience compared to before. At the same time, they reported significantly greater connectedness across all 3 domains. Crucially, the study found that these changes move together. People who gain more in their sense of connection to themselves, to others, and to the world more likely to have experienced the greatest reductions in their fear of death. Strongly mystical experiences characterized by feelings of cosmic unity, transcendence, were similarly associated with greater connectedness and lower fear of death. However, the findings became more complex when looking at death avoidance, defined as the tendency to actively deep thoughts, deep out of the consciousness awareness. Increases in connectedness to oneself and to others were linked to lower death avoidance. But an increased connectedness to the world as an intense mystical experiences did not predict lower levels of death avoidance. The author suggests the spill points to two very different ways people process death after a trip. Feeling more connected to oneself and loved ones seems to promote genuine existential acceptance, where a person stops avoiding the topic of death and stops fearing it. Controversially, intense mystical experiences may promote a defensive shift. A person who feels cosmically connected to the universe may stop fearing death, but they still actively avoid thinking about it. Like because the drug changed their metaphysical beliefs, allowing them to bypass human mortality by believing they will merge with cosmos when they die. An important unresolved question is whether reductions as death anxiety following a psychedelic experience arise through defensive denialistic bypassing as through acceptance and integration of mortality. Barr and colleagues concluded. There's a lot of big words.
Right? A lot of big words. There are significant limitations to keep in mind, chiefly the study's retrospective design, asking participants to recall and compare their mental states from months or years prior is inherently vulnerable to recall bias, selective memory, and the tendency for a person to unconsciously exaggerate how bad they felt before a life-changing event to make the transformation seem more profound. The study exploring associations between connectedness and death anxiety following a psychedelic experience, and there's a click link there, was authored by Noah N. Barr, Briony Lawrence, Matthew J. Schweikel, and Sam G. Morton. And there's a bunch of recommended readings here, a bunch of clickable links on all this from different sources. Anyone wanting to gather more information on that, you can go ahead and find that all there over on scipost.org. So a very cool story. Very cool story.
It is. Where is that? 1, 2. This is the third one, right?
This is the second story right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
About to do our third.
Look at this one. I'll see what time it is. Well, we can do this one quickly. All right. So our third story before our break is oh wait, did you want to talk about the second story a little bit? I'm jumping the gun.
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So our third story is from fiercefarmer.com. And I kind of like this one because Bufos was talking about this, and I'm like, ooh, we're gonna get some insider stuff. So the timing is right for psychedelics manufacturer Optimi Health's IPO, and this is by Kevin Dunleavy.
All right. And we've been reporting on Optimi Health off and on over the years that Psychedelic Reporters has been running. And so this is the latest news coming to us from them. Last month, when Optimi Health kicked off an initial public offering IPO of 2.5 million shares, the timing couldn't have been better for the Vancouver-based manufacturer of psychedelic drugs, with President Donald Trump recently signing an executive order to accelerate research and ease the restrictions on psychedelics, and doing so at the reported prompting of podcast giant Joe Rogan. There is unprecedented buzz around the potential of the drugs to treat mental disorders. And it's an opportune time for an early entrant like Canada's Optimi to attract investors too. You have the most popular person in the world, for better or for worse, Donald Trump, and probably the second most popular, Joe Rogan, standing behind him talking about it. Dane Stevens, the CEO of Optimi, said in an interview last week. It's a huge step, a big catalyst. Since then, the phone's been ringing nonstop. In the nascent industry, there aren't many companies like Optimi, which Stevens classifies as a specialty CDMO. Optimi produces natural psilocybin and MDMA. Both have been designated as breakthrough therapy by the FDA. And Optimi, which was established 6 years ago, has two 10,000 square foot manufacturing facilities in Princeton, British Columbia, which is roughly 3 hours east of Vancouver. Very cool.
Very, very cool. Oh yeah, okay. So my hit just I had a okay. All right, okay. I'm catching up. Okay. Unlike many companies in the psychedelic arena, which both develop and produce their drugs, Optimi is solely a manufacturer. It supplies capsules of psilocybin and MDMA for clinical trials around the world and for commercial use in Australia, which reclassified the psychedelics in the 2020. Wait, they can take the drugs and I can't take the drugs? Well, anyways, taking them off the Schedule 9 banned substances list and making them a Schedule 8 controlled drug. Oh, wow. They go all the way to 9 and 8. Physicians there can prescribe psilocybin for treatment resistant depression, a TRD, and MDMA for post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, in the country. Veterans in Australia are covered for the PTSD treatment by the government, a model that Stevens anticipates will be adopted in the United States, as Optimi considers a potential surge in demand for its products thanks to the sudden support of psychedelics in the U.S. It already had a head start as it received its good manufacturing practice certification from Health Canada. Optimi has the ability to produce 2 million capsules per year, serving more than 200,000 patients. The individual capsule are priced at $33.33 for MDMA and $20 for psilocybin. As for its sales in Australia, Stevens says that Optimi has an advantage over competitors because it's unique in that it both manufactures and ships its drugs directly to pharmacies, not using a middleman. Operating in this way allows Optimi to offer treatments at a lower cost than a larger scale manufacturers who use distributors, according to the CAO. At its manufacturing complex, Optimi has 4 fruiting rooms, which are enclosed environments that simulate optimal humidity, temperature, and fresh air exchange conditions to grow mushrooms. Optimi Health has one of the world's largest genetic banks with the ability to grow more than 200 varieties of psychedelic mushrooms. A drug establishment license from Health Canada allows the company to produce nearly 20 types of mushrooms that can be sold commercially. Optimi handles end-to-end manufacturing of the psilocybin at its facility. The process includes extraction, encapsulation, packaging, and export. We had to develop all the SOPs and testing methods. Stevens said, when we first started, we just started with the facilities. We purpose-built them, one-way airflow, clean room technology, all automated systems to manage the environment. And when you can control the environment, you can control the outcome consistently.
Right. Optimi revealed last month that it is seeking to manufacture the psychedelic alkaloid ibogaine, interesting, which is under investigation for opioid use disorder, traumatic brain injury, TBI, and PTSD. Ibogaine was included in Trump's executive order to hasten the development of psychedelics. The drug is a naturally occurring alkaloid from the bark of the African tabernanthe iboga shrub. Optimi will not attempt to cultivate the plant itself. It is working with a supplier to curate the extracted organic compound. The company will handle the standardization, encapsulation, packaging, and export of the drug. Johnson & Johnson's Spravato esketamine offers an example of a rescheduled drug finding a therapeutic niche. J&J's nasal spray is a tweaked version of ketamine, a synthetic drug that was created in a laboratory more than 6 decades ago and was rescheduled by the FDA in 1999 for medical use as a controlled substance. Spravato, which reached the market in 2019, is approved for major depressive disorder, MDD, and TRD. Generated sales of $1.7 billion last year. Wow. Further, the FDA 2 weeks ago awarded priority vouchers to Psychedelic Specialist Compass Pathways, Transcend Therapeutics, and Usona Institute. The vouchers are designed to accelerate research, approval, and access to the compounds being developed by the companies. We feel like we've got a really unique opportunity here to supply the market, whether it's from the white labeling CDMO side of things, or actually in the rescheduled framework where these drugs can be available at a really competitive cost, Stevens said. We reached Australian patients before everybody else, which was great. And now we're looking at similar situation where we can be a direct competitor to the drug development companies. Very interesting story there. Very cool that they're moving ahead with all that.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good. So that was three. That was three. 1, 2, 3. So that brings us to Hello Hobbies, Read News. Oh! It's Ron's favorite time of the show. It's meditation time.
Yes, it is. It's time to pay some bills, folks. So stay tuned for a word from some of our sponsors. Then we will return with more articles that Bufo was chosen, making mainstream media news.
Back in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Here on Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network.
Dirty Dave, award-winning cultivator for over 4 decades. Dirty Dave, prized genetics fueled by advanced nutrients, original OG organics. Dirty Dave, award-winning products available at these fine establishments. Ask your shop to carry Dirty Dave. Contact us at dirtiesdoggies@gmail.com.
Join us for NOK Network monthly specials, 12 months a year, movie nights, spotlights on entertainment, and live on location coverage. Stay up to date about upcoming programming by subscribing to NOK Network on Rumble, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Facebook. Check out our webpage at www.noknetwork.com.
Hey, hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimator Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Tyndinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat. One dab make the homies all dip set.
Smoke Signals, Tyndinaga.
Smoke Signals, Tyndinaga.
Smoke Signals, Tyndinaga.
Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram.
Smoke Signals,
Go ahead,
Tyndinaga.
hold it in, feel it in your wrist.
Smoke Signals, Tyndinaga.
Check us out in Tyndinaga. 55 Highway 49 in Tyndinaga. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Now we get back to the show.
And we're back from our medication session live here on Psychedelic Reporters here on NOK Network. And here we go. Oops. Hold on.
Wait. And we have another set of stories coming at you in the realm of psychedelic medicine. So let's get at it.
Yeah, here we go.
Right. What? Okay. Where was it? Oh, that's why I couldn't see it. I didn't have it on the screen. Single dose of psilocybin yields rapid antidepressant effects in groundbreaking study. This is off of bioengineer.org and it's written by bioengineer.
Yeah, scrolling down here, a groundbreaking randomized double-blind study conducted at Karolinska Institute in Sweden has brought new hope to the treatment of depression, showcasing the rapid antidepressant effects of a single dose of psilocybin, a psychedelic compound found in so-called magic mushrooms. Published in JAMA Network Open, this phase 2 clinical trial demonstrated that psilocybin can significantly alleviate symptoms in individuals suffering from moderate to severe recurrent depression, with effects manifesting within days and persisting for several months. This study is among the first to assess the efficacy of psilocybin in typical depression cases, expanding the scope beyond the previously examined cancer-related or treatment-resistant depression. Depression remains a debilitating global health issue affecting millions and imposing significant social and economic burdens. Traditional antidepressants, in particular selective serotonin re-up inhibitors or SSRIs, have long been the treatment mainstay, but suffer from delayed onset of action, typically requiring weeks before symptom relief is observed, and many patients experience limited efficacy or adverse effects. Psilocybin's potential of a fast-acting antidepressant offers a paradigm shift in psychiatric care, leveraging its unique pharmacological profile to target depressive symptomatology more directly. In the Carolina Institute trial, 35 participants between the ages of 20 and 65 with confirmed moderate to severe depression were randomly assigned to receive either a single 25 milligram oral dose of psilocybin or an active placebo, niacin, which provokes discernible physiological effects but lacks psychoactive properties. Both groups underwent therapeutic support sessions before, during, and after treatment to maximize safety and facilitate psychological processing of the experience. The psilocybin was administered under controlled conditions, where subjects reclined with eye masks and headphones playing curated music, an approach designed to enhance the inward focus and therapeutic setting. Very cool.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so efficacy was primary measured using the Montgomery-Asberg Depression Rating Scale. So that is the MADRS. Clinical administered scale ranging from 0 to 60 pounds. I don't know. The more I got stoned, the harder it's for me to see. Oh, 60, ranging from 0 to 60 points that gauges depression severity. Baseline eligibility required a minimum MADRS score of 22, categorizing participants as moderately to severely depressed. Impressively, by day 8, post-treatment, the psilocybin group exhibited an average reduction of 9.7 points on the MADRS, significantly outperforming the placebo's 2.4 point improvement. This 7.3 point differential not only achieves statistical significance, but also meets clinical criteria indicative of meaningful depression alleviation. Remarkably, these antidepressant effects remain robust through days 15 and 42. Self-reported MADRS scores parallel clinician assessments reviewing the subjects received improvements as early as day 2 following the psilocybin dose. The subjective benefits endured for over 3 months, underscoring psilocybin's potential for sustained symptom relief. Furthermore, remission rates revealed a substantial advantage for psilocybin, with 53% of treated individuals reaching remission 6 weeks post-dosing, compared to just 6% in the placebo cohort, although the remission difference diminished at 1 year mark owing to natural recovery within the placebo group. The early rapid response remains clinically significant. The study's lead author, Dr. Hampus Yingwei, highlighted the promise of psilocybin as an alternative to the conventional antidepressants, particularly in scenarios where quick symptom resolution is paramount. Nonetheless, the research team advises caution, noting that long-term outcomes remain unclear and that multiple administrations might be necessary to sustain remission and prevent relapse. These findings open avenues for future investigations assessing the optimal dosing frequency and long-term management with psychedelic-assisted therapy. Safety profiles were generally favorable. Most adverse effects were transient and mild to moderate in intensity. However, 2 psilocybin recipients experienced severe and enduring anxiety post-treatment and necessitating clinical intervention. So these incidents emphasizes the indispensable role of thorough screening and robust therapeutic oversight when administering psychedelic compounds. Professor Johan Lundberg, who spearheaded the study, stressed that while promising psilocybin treatment is not without risk, requires careful patient selection and monitoring. So at the same time, if you're doing a study, you want to see the results of somebody that can't handle it,
Right.
because you want to see those risks and
Exactly.
and stuff. So you go into it knowing that. So I see going down the road, it'd be better at it and stuff like that. But during the studies, you're beta testing the shit. You're trying to break the system.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, people who are going into these studies, they're made aware of the possible risks that are involved. But at the same time, if they've got a good way to manage those risks and see that person through, that makes that person feel comfortable about entering into something like that. But you do have to have those numbers. I do agree, because if you don't really truly know everything about it. Anyways, blinding remains a methodological hurdle in psychedelic clinical trials due to the vivid and distinctive effects elicited by compounds like psilocybin, making true double blinding difficult. In the study, most participants accurately guessed their treatment allocation, revealing issues in separating pharmacological effects from expectation biases. This recognition urges cautious interpretation of the data and advocates for developing novel trial designs to better control for placebo and expectancy influences. Further research is underway to elucidate the neurobiological mechanisms underpinning psilocybin's antidepressant effects. The investigators are currently analyzing positron emission tomography, or PET, imaging and biomarkers from blood and cerebral spinal fluid collected pre and post treatment. It is hypothesized that psilocybin may promote synaptic plasticity by enhancing synapse density and connectivity in brain regions implicated in mood regulation. Preclinical studies align with this concept, demonstrating psychedelic-induced stimulation of neuroplastic processes, which could counteract the synaptic deficits observed in depression. This study represents a significant stride in psychopharmacology, corroborating the therapeutic potential of psychedelics for common depressive disorders while simultaneously delineating their limitations and safety considerations. With mental health care in urgent need of innovative interventions, this research paves the way for integrating psychedelics as viable adjuncts or alternatives to existing treatments, provided that future large-scale studies confirm their efficacy and safety profiles. Conducted in collaboration between Karolinska Institute and Brain Stimulation Clinic within Northern Stockholm Psychiatry, the research was financially supported by Norskan Mind and the Swedish Research Council. Ethical transparency was maintained throughout, with Professor Lundberg disclosing a personal honorarium from Janssen Seelag. The comprehensive findings from the study promise to ignite further scientific inquiry and invigorate clinical innovation in tackling one of the most pervasive disorders of society. And there's just some credits and stuff there.
So that I found, wow, what a great article, man!
Very great article. Very great article. I like that one.
Mm-hmm. So I liked it.
Okay. No, carry on.
Oh, okay. So our next article, and I thought I was going to be with Miss Tara on this one, and so when I seen it on the list, I'm like, oh, great. She could cover some of the women aspect of it, but here Ron and I sit. This comes from womensworld.com, and it states, could ibogaine for Alzheimer's disease, and I don't think we've heard this yet, be a brain health breakthrough? So why experts are buzzing, and this plant-based compound is showing promise for memory, brain health, and so much more. And this is written by Elisa Max Bauer.
Yeah, and The key takeaways from this is the drug ibogaine shows promise for brain health, but it's not proven for Alzheimer's. We'll be going into more detail on these in the story. Scientists are still studying its effects on brain adaptability and cognitive function, and experts warn this psychedelic drug should only be used under strict medical supervision. So the story goes on here to say, if you've watched a loved one struggle with Alzheimer's disease or memory loss, you know how heartbreaking it can be and how desperately we need new solutions. An ancient plant-based remedy called ibogaine is now making headlines as a potentially powerful breakthrough for brain health. Researchers are even looking at ibogaine for Alzheimer's disease. It's all part of a recent push to explore psychedelic drugs for therapeutic use. Curious to know more? Let's go on a little trip to learn about this ancient and emerging health tool that has people, even President Donald Trump, buzzing. It could offer hope for you or someone you love. What is ibogaine and how was it used traditionally? Most modern medicines originated from plants. Think of aspirin coming from willow bark or morphine coming from poppy plants. Ibogaine is no different. It is a plant-derived compound that originates from the root bark of a shrub called Tabernath iboga that grows in West Africa. For centuries, ibogaine has been used in spiritual and ceremonial practices to facilitate psychological insight. In this traditional sense, the medicine would give people wild dreams or hallucinations, which could be used to gain emotional wisdom so healing could occur. It's been described like an LSD trip, but with more introspection. In his new book, Heavily Meditated, biohacker Dave Asprey describes an ibogaine trip this way. Consider it a personal life review with a dash of cosmic insight. He cites research in the Journal of Psychedelic Studies and explains, straddling the line between ancient shamanic wisdom and cutting-edge addiction research, ibogaine is forging a unique path in the world of psychedelics.
Yes, so what is medical grade ibogaine today? Well, ibogaine is, what? Continue without disabling. Oh, I have a blocker in it. Okay, so hold on, here it is. Okay, well, ibogaine has ancient roots. Modern medicine is now exploring how to harness its benefits safely. The drug ibogaine is not currently FDA approved. In the US, it is used experimentally in some medical clinics around the world. That is mainly used to treat conditions including addiction, anxiety, depression, traumatic brain injury, and PTSD. In this study, these patients are given pills and closely monitored during the treatment with physician oversight. Supervision is crucial since the powerful drug can lower blood pressure. Eduardo Ramirez, MD, is the clinical director at Beyond Ibogaine, a clinical neural health center specialized in medical supervised ibogaine protocols in Mexico. He says ibogaine is designed to regulate brain chemistry, restore nervous system functions, and drive long-term mental optimization. What made its unique ability to act across multiple brain systems simultaneously. It can reduce withdrawal symptoms and cravings while creating a temporary state of heightened brain adaptability. During this window, and deeply ingrained behavior and emotional patterns can be examined and reshaped. In essence, the drug helps the brain relax old stuck thought patterns so it can become too open to new healthier ones. Women's health expert Sarah Sizzle Gottfried, MD, has been open about her use of psychedelic assisted therapy to treat her own trauma and that of her patients. I agree that combining the best of personalized medicine with psychedelic medicine, we have the best opportunity for recreating wholeness and health. And she says, why? Ordinary states of consciousness may not allow you heal deep where the heart is. Can ibogaine treatment help Alzheimer's disease? If you've heard about ibogaine in the news, reasons why President Trump's to fast-track ibogaine research. He mentioned the drug by name in a recent executive order pledging $50 million to ibogaine research. The question on everyone's mind, could ibogaine become a breakthrough treatment for Alzheimer's disease and age-related memory loss? The answer, maybe. One study found that drugs improve older folks' executive function and help them stay more positive and less depressed, according to the journal Gerontology and Geriatric Medicine. Commenting on the study, one skeptical Reddit user said, "This feels like the Rod Wine good for you story all over again." In that Reddit thread about psychedelics, another person pandered while being psilocybin straight up curse Alzheimer's, but just nobody tried giving magic mushrooms to a person with dementia.
How ibogaine might help, or how might ibogaine help with memory loss? While we don't yet have direct studies on ibogaine and Alzheimer's, related research offers glimmers of hope for families dealing with memory loss. The strongest human data available right now is on traumatic brain injury, a Nature Medicine study conducted at Stanford of Special Operations veteran. A Nature Medicine study conducted at Stanford of Special Operations veterans found that ibogaine therapy was associated with improvements in disability, PTSD, depression, anxiety, and cognition. It supports further research into ibogaine's effects on brain function and cognitive recovery, Dr. Ramirez adds. If you're feeling hopeful about ibogaine's potential for improving quality of life in Alzheimer's patients, that optimism is understandable, but experts want to manage expectations. This is an area where we need to be appropriately cautious, Dr. Ramirez says. At this stage, I would not describe ibogaine as a proven treatment for Alzheimer's disease, as we do not yet have sufficient human clinical data to support that claim. The future of ibogaine treatment, the good news, the science is improving daily. At his clinic, Dr. Ramirez says we increasingly view ibogaine not through a psychedelic lens, but as an emerging form of neuroplasticity medicine and its ability to help the brain change and improve. The recent federal interest in shift in policy is important because ibogaine needs rigorous clinical research in the United States. He adds, looking forward, I see its medical trajectory expanding into proactive brain health, supporting cognitive resilience, emotional regulation, and overall mental optimization. What needs to happen before ibogaine can be widely available? Well, there's a quote here. He says, "I do believe ibogaine deserves a serious FDA pathway, but not a casual approval," said Dr. Ramirez. "It should be studied and potentially approved under strict medical standards, not made broadly available without the infrastructure to administer it safely." And is ibogaine safe? Risks doctors want you to know. If you're considering ibogaine or wondering whether it might help a loved one, safety is naturally your first concern. Here's what doctors want you to understand. Ibogaine is understandably controversial. It is not meant for recreational drug use. Many experts agree it needs to be used with extreme care and medical supervision, since it can lower blood pressure and disrupt the heart's natural rhythm. Dr. Ramirez cautions ibogaine is not a magic bullet, and it is not something to try at home. It is a powerful medical intervention that should only be considered after careful screening and under experienced clinical supervision.
Bottom line about ibogaine for Alzheimer's. With appropriate clinical safeguards and rigorous research, ibogaine has the potential to become a powerful tool in how we approach not just recovery, but long-term mental performance and well-being, says Dr. Ramirez. For Alzheimer's specifically, I would say promising mechanism, insufficient evidence. The fact that researchers are exploring new possibility means we're one step closer to better solutions for brain health. In the meantime, you can care for your brain health today through proven strategies like staying mentally active, eating well, and enjoying social connection. And if you're concerned about memory loss, schedule a cognitive assessment and discuss all available treatment options for your doctor. Huh.
There you go. Yeah, that was cool. So it's cool that ibogaine is getting more recognition all over, but specifically looking into it for use for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's 104 into the show, and that brought that article in as the last article. Yeah, that's thank you for joining us here on Psychedelic Reporters on NLK Network, and for tuning in to our video podcast on NLK Network's Rumble and YouTube pages, as well as our social media sites.
That's right. And we hope you all enjoyed your update on mainstream media coverage of psychedelic medicine advancements from around the globe.
We hope, many thanks to our sponsors and to my subjoint host, Ron McNabb, and to Buffalo Various for choosing the stories, and to you, our listeners, for joining each week on Psychedelic Tuesday. Let's hear from Dead Ringer again from Kirkland Lake on our way out. Night.
Good night. Peace.
I'm looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty